So, I've been meaning to do this video for a while actually, well before the news became official, but what the hey. This is one of a couple ones to help close out the month and to help clean up the slate before the full deep dive of the Switch 2 this year. And with it, my look at the overall whole Switch its family will include games that were released on Nintendo Wii, which I think will be great to come to it. I obviously won't be touching on titles that I mentioned in previous videos, those in this one, or other ones that I reported. Did they also the one criteria is that the game in question has to have launched on the Wii first, or at least be strongly associated with the Wii. So here, and especially since that despite some people claiming otherwise, the Switch has not only been the successor of the Wii, but in many ways surpassed it. So, here are some Wii games I would like to see on the Switch family. Let's get started. Super Mario Galaxy 2. Starting off with the obvious pick, and it was noticeable by its absence in the Mario 3D All Stars, hers pack. Though, given how it's been nearly 5 years since that release happened, and this year also marks the 40th anniversary of Super Mario Brothers, with news being relatively mum about what exactly they've got planned, and for that, I think it would be feasible given how they were able to not only have more advanced motion controls than Wii Motion Plus could offer, but also find a way to make the game work with the more tactile experience of playing in handheld mode or with regular or buttons and other inputs being, especially with more details being revealed about what the C button does on the Switch 2, as well as the patent application, at least some corroborating that it will indeed have mouse functionality and some of the new Joy-Con. I definitely think that this could work. It's as much a sequel to the first game as a retelling of it. I actually really like that. And that if a sequel does end up sticking close to the original blueprint, and it's alright. It's more than alright if you remix stuff. Plus, a lot of new powers and the addition of Yoshi. For me, when I first played it in the 2010s, were more than and welcome additions personally. And hopefully the pricing will be closer to, say, the Metroid Prime Remaster or at least Pikmin 1 plus 2 than anything. I mean, I still don't know about making $78 standard or list price. Let alone these other claims. Let's deal with those as they come. Of course, while the Poke Park games have never been the biggest parts of the franchise, they still have a following, and I especially he would not be against the idea, yeah, given how the Switch has a sizable market for these kind of games, and also given how other parts of the franchise have been retooled for these consoles, and it's definitely clear to me that even though I don't expect to see anything about Generation 10 until after Legends of Zelda launch at the earliest, personally, hey, I would say that the new system, as well as continued support of the existing one, would be a nice time to put out both these titles, perhaps in one package, something like a Poke Park or 1 plus 2 Definitive Edition, and and of course, given in their that Nintendo's further partnering Universal for theme parks. I think an actual Rio Poke Park would be a, a great addition, and and since and just I'm just seeing already the the expanded entrance to the Mario attractions, as well as the one of the early ones at Donkey Kong Country Super Nintendo World. I can honestly say, hey, that would be a quite the he he experience to have these titles on newer systems, but not everything on the system can be family friendly. I can never say that much. Case in point, ain't Mad World. Sega and Platinum's little played but much loved action title, all with its dynamic stylings, and I think would be a great fit to target the older audience of the system, like moi. I mean, it's been a, I haven't had so much time to play the original again, but I could definitely recommend it to people who enjoy ones like Smash TV, as well as like the action films that helped capture this blend of ultra violence as well as pretty clever satire. Here, it's like RoboCop and The Running Man. I am so concerned about that remake coming later this year, allegedly. Hey, hey, but whether or not how that actually ends up happening, I'm open to the idea with Sega, especially intent to visit their previous IP and Platinum getting more and more of an audience. I'd say I'd buy that for $1, or at the very least, $7.99 to be precise. I mean, fortunately, most of the retro games stores in my state have been unaffected by the speculators of anything. Yes, I know that Marvelous remade the first game and are in the process of doing so with the second, but in this instance, and I'm talking about the non-remake versions where it helps that these two games lend themselves pretty well to the motion controls, almost acting in place of a more standard light gun. I mean, admittedly that'd be tricky. I mean, it's got something to do with the refresh rate of more recent displays. That's why I there's so much demand for CRTs that still working. I mean, but with Sega again, expressing interest in revisiting in their vast treasure of IP, a outside of their current big three of Sonic, like Persona, and the Like a Dragon franchise, I I would definitely be interested in doing this. And given how much more processing power there's been since then, and it can definitely run on these in arcade perfect fashion, given how much coin I sunk into these cabinets back in the day. Hey, I even snagged the PlayStation version from PSN and before or that title got delisted among other Sega ones. And I mean, I could see them being put out again as part of the how they lead up to the newer titles. Might be the same reason why Shinobi is currently held up on the store, or I mean they have it technically, but I can't actually buy it. So it just keeps reminding me of that old joke about downloading the White Album again, but getting ahead of myself once more. Yes, I have heard some of the justification for why the franchise has been on an unofficial hiatus. Yes, but aside from that, I'm looking for a different angle. I mean, much like how with F-Zero, admittedly, it got tough for them to keep reinventing the wheel with each new installment, hence why there's the gap between, even when it came out, the installments. I mean, I would submit this, however. I mean, you don't always have to reinvent the wheel every single time. You just have to roll something that's interesting. And it's a franchise that has had a soft spot for, or I've also liked Little Mac's recurring appearances in Smash Brothers games because it's clear it still has a sizable fan base. One of my favorite Boxing Day traditions is to actually play through the classic games. Because I actually was able to not only beat Mr. Sandman in the NES title, but also go the distance with Mr. Dream. Like, I didn't actually win, but that didn't matter to me. I just proved I could actually make it in the ring for all 3 rounds with him. Um, and the unique combination of motion controls using like the face buttons is again something I could see being replicated and expanded upon with the Joy-Con and maybe you could if you're concerned about how the sensitivity, by all means, I'm not gonna hold against you. Put up a disclaimer like other games I've played, like the ones like the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection, the both trilogies, the recent Tomb Raider masters, and also even my Marvel vs. Capcom collection, where these games are presented in their original forms. Some content may be considered outdated, but we felt it necessary in order to maintain faithfulness to the original release, which is kind of like that. I mean, I've never ever really encountered that many people that mad about those kind of warnings. Personally, most people seem to understand, but thankfully there is as one last game, which I think might be relatively easy to who get on the Switch and its upcoming successor. Oh yes, this entry into the long-running Kirby franchise is and is definitely among its most creative and actually shaking up the whole formula. Like rather than consuming in your enemies to gain their abilities, instead you're basically a weaving them out of yarn. Like they did do extra epic yarn on the 3DS, which is close to the end of that console life cycle. So I could easily imagine something similar they did to Return to Dreamland Deluxe, as well as the Donkey Kong Country Returns remasters, where you have not only the content from the previous releases, but also new stuff in this version to justify I getting it again. Plus, it helps the game is also still has a lot of humor that's quite amusing, like the grass feeling like pants, which they even been been changed to trousers with the UK release of the game. Make sure the youngster works in English, and also who could see how it would definitely fit right in, given how there have been similar spin-offs around other characters such as Wool, Papercraft, Aft, Aft, also involving Yoshi, and even in Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, I believe also involved claymation as well. So I also didn't even mind and how the approach to instead of actually having to start over, you just lose a few beads, and they're able to keep going. I mean, which is similar to how what the Lego games did with the studs before, or and even has something that's been incorporated in other legacy franchises where I still remember that Mario and Sonic were the longest holdouts that were still using numbered lives in some installments, but when now that even they're moving away from that concept, it's definitely hey, hey, it's easy to see this game's being like ahead of the curve there. I mean, I never really understood that kind of, kind of opposition. I mean, to me, hey, if you can just use this feature first and then you can go 100 completion later. I mean, just like that. I mean, simple. Anyway, that's all for now, and I will. Oh, I'll definitely be covering the deep dive on the Switch 2 when it streams in April. But first, I thought I would also do something similar with games I want to see on this console family from Nintendo DS. So that's all for now. Take care, everyone.